Hello everybody. So in today's video, I thought we would do something fun that I haven't tried on the channel before, but I've wanted to make these for a long time. So I'm going to be making bowl covers today for some of my bowls that I use for bread. So I'm going to show you the sizes of bowls that we're going to use. These are the bowls we're going to use. I highly recommend using 100% linen for this. You want to pre-wash it just so it doesn't shrink after you've made your bowl covers. That's really important. So all I did was start by putting my bowl upside down, and I'm tracing around it to get the accurate size for the bowl. So I'm just doing that with a pencil crayon. If you have chalk or a marker, that would work great as well. So now I'm grabbing my measuring tape and I'm measuring 2 inches from the circle that I've drew, and I'm making a mark, and I'm going to do this all the way around the circle. Try to do it in small intervals just so that later on you can connect where you marked everything. It's going to make another outside circle, and this is going to be the line that we end up cutting. So make sure they're short enough intervals where you can connect them. You can use any kind of measuring tape for this. I don't think that really matters too much, just as long as the measurements are accurate, and the intervals in between where you're doing the markings are close enough together to connect them. I'm using a yellow pencil crayon, but you can use chalk or you can use a pen. Just make sure it'll show up on the fabric so you can see accurately where to cut and where to draw the line on. If you're interested in making these bowl covers, I will link the instructions that I used to make these in the description box below of this video. Now, with the markings that I made, I'm about to connect them and make an outer circle. This outer circle is exactly 2 inches from the inner circle, and this is going to allow us to fold over and make a channel for the elastic to fit through so that they stay nice and tight on the bowls. So that's all I'm doing here, is just attaching each of the markings that I made so I have a really nice clean line to cut, and so it makes it nice and easy to cut. To cut this circle out, we're now going to use these pinking shears. They have a zigzag blade to them. I'm using these specifically. In the instructions it says that using pinking shears to cut it out allows the edge to not fray as bad after they're sewn. So highly recommend cutting it out with pinking shears. If you don't cut it out with pinking shears, you could sew a seam, but that is an extra step that I don't show in this video. When you're cutting, make sure that you stay right on the line. Try not to go any closer to the inner circle, because that is the 2 inches that we need to fold over. And it also allows about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch for sewing as well. So try to make sure you go either over the line on the outer side or make sure that it's right on the line. Okay, so this part is where I start to pin the circle so I know exactly where to pin. So start on one edge, fold it right to the line, make sure it's not over the line, and then turn it around and do the opposite side of the circle and do the exact same thing. Rotate the fabric and do it again. Fold it in, right to the line, pin it, and then go directly across from the circle and pin it again. You always want to go right across, and you'll see why in a second. Continue rotating the fabric and pinning each side opposite of each other. To pin the fabric, I'm just using some sewing pins here. It makes it easier to hold the fabric in place where you want to sew it, and to have the folds already in place and being held down with the pin, it makes it easier to sew later on. So I'm just continuing to rotate the fabric here and pinning each section. After I'm done this 1 or 2 sections here, then it gets a little bit more tricky, and you have to place a fold inside the fabric to pin it down flatter. You'll see here, right here. So it's essentially just kind of folding it a bit so that it conforms to the circle a little bit easier. And then just pin it in place so that you can sew it down later on. After you've got the first one pinned, just continue to do that all the way around the entire circle. All these little extra pieces need to be pinned down so you can get an accurate sew on the whole circle. I just want to say that I'm not in any way a professional seamstress. I do know how to sew a lot of things, and I do quilt and stuff like that as well, but I am in no way a professional at this, so please keep that in mind. If you find that there's a better way to do this, please, by all means. So here I just wanted to give you a close-up look on what it looks like having them pinned and folded, just to conform to the circle a little bit easier. And it'll make it a lot easier to sew. So when you do sew it, you want to leave about a 2 to 3 inch gap like I'm showing here in the video. That is to feed the elastic into the bowl cover. So I'm now getting ready to sew the bowl cover. You want to use thread that is pretty close to the same color just so it looks nice. So make sure you do a reverse stitch in the beginning. That'll help close off the stitch, and then just sew about 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch all the way around the bowl cover, and make sure you get all the folded edges as well so there's no holes in between. I'm just slowly taking out the pins as I make my way around the entire bowl cover here, and I will show you what it looks like as soon as it's done being sewn here. Here I am getting really close to the end. You want to leave the 2 or 3 inch space for the putting in the elastic. Make sure you do a reverse stitch just to close it off so it's not an open-ended stitch. So here's what it looks like after it's been sewn. Looks great. I'm just trimming off a little bit of stray threads here. and I've left the 1 to 2 inches, maybe even 3 inches here hole for the elastic. When I was at my local Fabricland, they had these little bags of elastic, 10 yards of elastic for $3. So I bought a couple of these bags worth. So that's what I'm opening here. And it just happened to be in black as well, which was awesome. This is flat elastic. You can also use round. I don't think it matters, just as long as it fits nicely into the canal that we sewed. You want to use a safety pin on the end of your elastic to feed it through. Right here, I'm just roughly measuring out how much elastic I'm going to need. After making the first bowl cover, I discovered that I made the elastic a little too long, so I would recommend cutting it 3 to 4 inches shorter than what it is around the bowl, just so it stays nice, the elastic stays nice and tight around your bowl. Later on, I do actually take the seam apart and cut the elastic a little shorter to make it tighter on the bowl. But just for reference, make it a little shorter than what it is around the bowl. So here I'm just putting my safety pin in and getting ready to feed it around the bowl cover. When you're feeding it around the bowl cover, make sure you don't lose track of the other end inside the bowl cover. It will be very difficult to get it out. So just make sure you hold on to that end as well and make sure it doesn't get fed right into the inside. So now I'm just taking both ends of the elastic and I'm about to sew them together. So I'm going to use the sewing machine and just sew a line right down the center of them just to connect the two. I'm just making sure that they're nice and connected and strong and trimming off all the little threads that were left over. And then now you can make it go throughout the entire bowl cover. Just stretch it out. As you're stretching it out, it'll slowly go and disperse around the edge of the bowl cover. You just need to keep stretching it out a bit, and it will all go nicely. This is our 2 to 3 inch gap that we left for inserting the elastic. So now all we need to do is a straight stitch just to close up the gap. So that's all I'm going to do here is just sew it straight down and close up the hole. So after the sewing here, I'm just cutting the threads, and this is our finished bowl cover. Let me put it on my mixer bowl here and check the fit. This is where I discovered it was a little loose, but I do fix that later on. But it looks great. I did choose a dark color of fabric just so it looked nicer and cleaner in my kitchen. You know, when I'm making bread and stuff, sometimes I'm dealing with oil, so I wanted something a little darker. A few more here cut out. I have one for my really big bowl, another one for my mixer, and 2 smaller sizes. So I'm going to sew these, and then I will show you them all when they're done. Okay, everyone, so I finished them all. I managed to get them all on. Plus, I have an extra one for my mixer bowl. I had to make one for this smaller bowl. My ceramic bowl My ceramic bowl doesn't have a lip on it, so it didn't really want to stay on it. So I fit it towards this smaller one instead. So everyone, that's where I'm going to end the video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you try it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.